Big move. Big win. The moose is loose. Big moose. Big win. The moose is loose. Big moose. Big win. The moose is loose. Big. Big.
Welcome, everybody, to the show, and I'm not sure what has happened to Dan, our co-host and fellow traveler. It's just us tonight. Since it's just us, I thought we would do something that we have been aching to do for a long time, and it does take a somewhat amount of work to actually make it happen. It did occur to me, by the way, that I actually had the outro music and not the intro music until after it was playing. I'm like, shit.
You know, that's a dumb video. You know that?
It already, well, we got all kinds of dumb video here, Dan. That's what we do here, is make dumb video, right? So I want to thank everybody for stopping out tonight. Joining me is our fellow co-host and fellow traveler, Dan, the Dan Noodles man, the Vinegar Joe Stillwell of Wargaming. So off we go. I gave him Mark Clark before the show this time, and he went on a Mark Clark at Casino Red. So maybe we'll whip that out in an unexpected occurrence later on.
Don't pump me up, man. Don't pump me up, man.
All right. So the way this is going to work, folks, so we're clear on a couple of things. This is experimental. We're trying out a new little dingus that we can use with StreamYard. So if stuff goes wrong, you'll know why. We are on the honor system. I am well aware that anybody can look stuff up on BGG, but we're on the honor system here. First correct answer is the person that gets the points. There are no prizes. Maybe if this is successful and everything works, we will talk about prizes, because I'd like to do this again. We have actually been talking about doing this for like a year, and it took like a few hours to put the questions together. So as part of its experimental nature, however, be aware that I don't know how to fine tune the questions, right? It might be that these are all super easy or all super hard, and we will kind of play with that as we go. And since there is no, since we've never done it before, we will make adjustments. We can't make adjustments on the fly. The questions tonight are the questions tonight. But if we do it again, we can maybe do a better job making the questions easier or harder or whatever seems necessary.
And there's some doozy questions, like I have no idea.
Some of these questions are fairly easy. Some of them are hard, right? But, you know, you watch Jeopardy, and that's what you got. So, Joe Perez, thanks for stopping by. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by. This is, like I said, new experiment this evening. Dan, unlike on Jeopardy, we're going to use a Jeopardy-style format where you phrase your answer in the form of a question. I'm not going to insist on that. I may scold you for not doing so. You will get points, which will add up at the end. Dan will be in charge of, A, keeping score, and to move things along, rather than waiting for somebody in the chat to pick the next question, Dan will also pick the next question, and I will read the questions and the answers where necessary. You ready to go, Dan?
No, but let's go.
All right, let's do it. We'll see if we need to hire an accountant to keep track of the points for next time. We can talk about taking it out of Dan's salary. All right, so here's our fancy new layout, folks. Our categories for Wargaming Trivia Night are The Great War, War Games Make Me Blue, Dunnigan's Diversions, Aggressive Negotiations, and Off-Topic Topics. So you can interpret those in a Jeopardy-style fashion. And if we say, I'm only going to highlight the comments on the correct answers, feel free to comment away. And if we have time at the end, we'll do Q&A about how this stuff works. If anybody's curious, this is a website. It's a web-based application called jeopardylabs.com. It is free. You can also pay them, blah, 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 if you want. But I have not paid them because I am cheap. So, Dan, pick the first question, please.
And the first question is...
Or the first answer, I should say.
You're highlighting something for me to say now?
No. You pick one.
Okay, what happened? There was a highlighting something.
Yeah, it's because I moused over it, that's all.
Okay, don't mouse over nothing.
I'll try not to mouse over anything until you have picked the question.
And the first question is... Aggressive negotiations for 200.
Aggressive negotiations for 200. This game has been more or less continuously in print since 1959 and has spawned many fanzines, including Perfidious Albion. We await your answers, folks, and we even have background music while we await your answers. For our first points of the evening, folks, go to Meandering Mike. What is diplomacy? So Meandering Mike gets 200 points for that. So we will... Whoops.
Jesus, he's a geek. He's
there
a
we
geek.
go.
He's going to get them all.
What is diplomacy? All right, I'm going to have to eyeball the time, folks, because I can't flip back and forth between the music and the time. So we're going to continue. Dan, pick the next question, please.
And the next question is the Great War for 100.
This 2006 TED Racer design depicts the 1914 battles over Galicia at the divisional level. So you got about 20 seconds to answer, folks. I would do the music.
Even I know that.
It's not hard. I told you some of the questions are easy. Paths of Glory is not the correct answer, however.
Laborious.
And When Eagles Fight is actually not the correct answer either. The year is the key here.
No one's coming up with it.
No one's come up with it so far. I'll allow one more answer. It's 2006 TED Racer design depicts the 1914 battles over Galicia at the divisional level, which When Eagles Fight does do. It's just not a 2006 game. And you could make the claim that Paths of Glory does as well. All right, so nobody has this one, folks. So the answer is Clash of Giants 2 covers Ypres and Galicia at the divisional level. Neat looking game.
What was his other Clash of Giants? It was a Civil War.
So there's 3 Clash of Giants games, 2 World War I and 1 American Civil War.
Have you played any?
No, I have not.
Because I hear good things about that.
I have too. I watched some video on Clash of Giants Civil War, and it was not speaking to me, but the Adam Misnick comes in a bit late, unfortunately. So we are dependent on YouTube's inherent lag here, folks. It is a little bit of a trick question, but it's easy. Dan, give us our read off. Pick another question.
The next category is aggressive negotiations for 100.
Aggressive negotiations for 100. This 1990 Avalon Hill release features competing factions cooperating against their common enemies, but can have only one winner, but everyone can lose collectively. This is another easy one. Although I didn't realize until I looked it up just how late this game release was. I would not have assumed that this was a 1990 release. I would have put it at least 5 to 10 years earlier than this. Both, we got some close ones. Somebody's getting warm here.
This is too exciting, man.
Hopefully I hope the questions aren't too hard, right? I'm going to wait for a couple. It's not Kingmaker. It's not Rise of the Roman Republic. It's not Acquire. It is 1990. All right, folks, we are about 5 more seconds here to give us an answer. All right, the answer is Republic of Rome. I would have assumed that from my memory that Republic of Rome came out earlier than 1990. So, but that is in fact our answer. All right, Dan, pick another question. Meandering Mike's in the lead with 200 points.
All right, Dunnigan's diversions for, oh my God, 400.
400. He's going for the big stuff, folks. This predecessor to a 1971 Dunnigan release first appeared in a Sid Saxon book.
Jesus Christ, man. Like, what's the matter with you?
Like I said, we're experimenting here, right?
You know, I don't know what to say.
I'm hoping they're not all this difficult. This one's a little tricky, I admit.
Didn't you pick those questions?
I did pick the questions, yes.
Hey, you're nuts.
Give it a couple more picks here. Tito was rather later. I want to say Tito was 78, 79, and I'm not sure it was a Dunnigan design. I'm not sure. Ed Holtzman has the answer, actually. You are absolutely right. The answer is Origins of World War I, which is the predecessor to the 72, I think, design, or 71 design, Origins of World War II. This appeared in Sid Sackson's book a couple of years before that. You had to make your own pieces because it was in a book. So we got Ed Holtzman.
Ed for 400, eh?
Ed Holtzman has 400 points. Congratulations, Ed, but you haven't won yet, but Ed is now in the lead on the board. All right. Dan, pick another question.
I'm rooting for you, you dirty guy. I don't know why I said that. It just came out. I don't know what else to say. All right, here we go. We go for War Games Make Me Blue for 100.
This 2006 release from designer Lee Brimacombe Wood depicts the planning and execution of the Battle of Britain. Don't say it. Don't say it if you know what it is, Dan. This is actually a fairly easy one. But the game itself is a bit hard to get.
Ah, jeez.
Joe Perez scores 100 points for his correct answer, which is The Burning Blue. Great game, by the way. So 100 points. Joe gets 100 points for that answer.
Come on, Joe.
All right, Dan, pick another question.
Dunnigan's Diversions for 200.
Dunnigan's Diversions for 200. This quasi-historical game about summoning diabolical forces was released with cover art by famed comics artist Howard Chaykin. This is a little bit of a trick question as well. Meandering Mike's got it again. Boom. Meandering Mike gets the 200 points. It is, in fact, Demons. The trick is it sounds just like Sorcerer, actually, which is not a Dunnigan design. It's actually a Redmond Simonson design.
We have a tie here.
Well, Meandering Mike got it in first, so... but there might... What are the point totals so far? You got Mike and Joe at 400.
Ed Holtzman 4 and Joe P 100.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So off we go to the board. Dan, give me another question.
The Great War for 400.
This operational simulation of the Battle of Mons in 1914 first appeared in a 2005 issue of Strategy and Tactics magazine.
Now you're crazy.
This is a tough question. I will admit this is a tough question.
You know, in 2005, what I was doing?
I don't remember what I was doing in 2005 either.
Well, I probably was
to be
at
fair.
a concert doing acid or something.
So it is not Red Poppies, nor Reinforce the Right, nor Kaiser's Battle was way earlier than this. Kaiser's Battle was 81-82, as I recall. Clock is ticking, folks. We'll give it another 5 seconds. This is a tough question. The ones at the top, I mean, they get harder as they're worth more points, right? All right, no points appear on the board for the Old Contemptibles at Mons 1914.
Seriously?
Dan, give us another question.
Okay, Gary, I'm just curious at the stats. How many people are watching now?
We got 65 watching right now.
Okay.
So.
Off topic for 300.
Off-topic topics for 300. This northernmost distillery on the Scottish island of Islay was established in 1881 and is known today for its mellow peated whiskies. It's off-topic. It's the off-topic topic. It's the topical off-topic topic.
Come on.
Good guess by Bill Simone, but it is not Lafroig. And Vince Ree also has guessed Lafroig. Agray Day has it for
Look at that!
300 points. Boonahaben is, in fact, the correct answer. It is the northernmost distillery on Islay.
He gets it for what, 300?
That is worth 300 points to Agray Day.
Oh, big smash.
All right.
Smash.
Dan, give me another question.
The Great War for 200.
This 2006 Joe Miranda design was featured in Strategy and Tactics magazine issue number 237.
You even told me before when we did a test and I even forgot.
I did. Don't worry about it. I forgot all the answers too. Maybe not, but I forgot a lot of the answers.
You know, I studied music at an institution, and then one day I just picked up a theory book, a beginner's theory book, just to see. I failed.
Oh, dear. Well, theory and practice are different. All right, I'm going to give it another 5 seconds. It is the Great War, is the category, right? Which the 100 Years' War could be considered a Great War. All right, folks, nobody pulls this one. But the answer is No Prisoners, the Campaigns of Lawrence of Arabia. I actually have the magazine, but not the game. Zeppelin is actually a good pick on Joe Green's part. Dan, give me another question.
Great War for 300.
Great War for 300. This 2022 Carrie Anderson design simulates the first Battle of Ypres, fought in 1914. This is pretty easy too, actually, I think. But I wrote the question, so maybe I'm the wrong person to ask.
Was it published by somebody else other than Carrie?
That's more information than you're going to get. This is pretty easy. Red Poppies predates 2022, by the way. All right, I am going to accept Stigler's answer, Death of an Army. This was released by Legion Wargames, Death of an Army, Ypres in 1914. I wasn't going to take just Ypres, but I will take Death of an Army. Vince Rhee beat him to it, actually. You're right. So Vince Rhee makes off with 300 points for that. Sorry, Stigler. Vince beat you to it. Or you could blame YouTube. That's totally fair, too. So since we have no prizes here, nobody's going to get up super uptight about it, I would think. So 300 points to Vince Rhee. All right, Dan, next up, pick a question.
What happened to Stigler?
Stigler got the second person. He was the second person to answer correctly.
I want Stigler to win.
Well, we are all rooting for Stigler, aren't we? But if he wins, he will complain. So pick a question.
Dunnigan's Diversions for 100.
This 1968 release was James Dunnigan's second published design for Avalon Hill.
Come on, dude.
This is pretty easy, I think.
Yeah, okay. You still have.
We are going by my scroll. Not. It may end up being slightly different based on. Ooh, there we go. Stigler gets this one though. Stigler gets what is 1914. So we got 100 points for Stigler. Stigler is on the board.
He gets what, $100?
100 points. If he gets $100, it's coming out of your salary, Dan. All right, Dan, give us another question.
Off topic, 100.
Off topic topics for 100. The War of Jenkins' Ear, fought between England and Spain, was a part of this major European conflict.
What the hell, man?
This is easy.
100?
This is easy.
Oh, yeah. Like how many sharps and flats are in C major?
It is not the 7 Years' War. Or the 30 Years' War.
Does it smell good?
Ooh, we're getting warm here, folks. We're getting warm here. John Stanley comes away with it. Nope. David, Perfidious Albion gets this one first. We've got to pick like a chat display to go by, and because I'm the one looking at it, it's got to be mine. So Perfidious Albion is first in with the correct answer, which is the War of the Austrian Succession. That's 100 points for Perfidious Albion, who even got a newsletter named after him earlier in the show. So you got that going for you, even if you don't win. Dan, pick another question.
Off topic for 500.
Off topic topics for 500. This 1977 film, directed by John Badham, saw a PG-rated version released in 1979. This 1977 film, directed by John Badham, saw a PG-rated version released in 1979. I told you this is the off-topic topic. There's only one film that I have even heard of, much less seen, that was directed by John Badham. So I can tell you that. It is not Peninsula War. It's not a war movie. I'll give you that hint. William Bird comes away with it first in off the gate. That is 500 points to Mr. William Bird. It is indeed Saturday Night Fever.
William Bird.
So that's a lot of points. For 500 points. You picked the question, Dan.
Okay,
So
hold on a second here. He's in the lead.
with 500 points, coming right in from behind. All right, Dan, pick another question.
And he's not. I was going to say a joke. War games make me blue for 4.
More games make me blue for 400. This 2016 release from Against the Odds depicts a major decisive battle of the Chinese Civil War fought in 1949 and which ultimately resulted in the resignation of Chiang Kai-shek. There goes Dan. This is a bit of a tough question, but if you've even seen the game, you'll get the answer. All right, we're going to have another 10 seconds, folks. I do see that the audience is kind of getting the assignment, though. Hey, there's a bunch of people that are throwing in answers that are all wrong, but they have correctly figured out what the category is about. Joe Perez comes in. Oh, no, William Aarons is first with Red Dragon, Blue Dragon is in fact the name of the game from Against the Odds of 2016. Red Dragon, Blue Dragon. And that is William Aarons first in with that.
How much?
That's worth 400 points. It's a lot of points.
Yep, he's trailing. Well, the 3 people trailing.
All right. Dan, give me another question.
War games make me blue for 500.
This Evan Jones design featuring card play was originally released in 1999 in the UK. This Evan Jones design featuring card play was originally released in 1999 in the UK.
Why would that make me blue?
Agray Day has it. It is blue versus gray, which is interesting because it's originally a UK game, later redone by GMT with a pretty iconic Roger. I don't know about iconic, but a good Roger McGowan cover. But the interesting thing is, it is American Civil War, and it was released in Britain, right? It's like that's weird. That's
How
weird.
much did he nail that for?
That was 500 points for Agray Day.
The man's in the lead.
He might be running away with this here, folks. If he gets one more, his lead might in fact be secure. Dan, give me another question.
Dunnigan's Diversions for 100.
This 1968 release, didn't we answer this already? We did answer this already.
The first one. This is now the second one.
This 1968 release was James Dunnigan's second published design for Avalon Hill. We did answer this already. The answer is 1914.
No, we didn't.
Well, Bill Simone's got it. So there you go. Give it the 100 points to Bill. Didn't we have, or did we, is this, maybe I'm nuts. Maybe we went through this question before the show.
And that was for 100?
It was 100 points to Bill Simone. I did not build the daily double into this, and I already feel like, we had that already. Scratch out Bill for 100. Sorry, Bill. I was going to say, I thought we did. All right, Dan, give me another question. I don't know why it didn't highlight, but okay. I mean, I'm going to say... I did tell you, folks, we're working through the technical challenges here, and we'll see about daily doubles next time.
Dunnigan's Diversions, 300.
All right. This 1969 title was the first game to appear contained in an issue of Strategy and Tactics magazine. This is also a pretty easy one, I think.
Why do I not know that?
Joe Perez has it. 300 points to Joe Perez. The answer is, in fact, Crete. The first issue, I think, was issue either 16 or 18. Austerlitz is actually kind of a good guess. That was a very early SPI release.
So Ardy, who got it?
This was released before I was actually born. That was Joe Perez for 300 points.
Gotcha.
So, all right, Dan, pick another question.
War games make me blue for 3.
This compact adaptation of a Salvatore Vasta design appeared in C3I magazine issue number 28.
I think I know that. Are we not allowed to participate?
No, we're not allowed to participate. I mean, there's no prizes, so who cares? But no, we're not allowed to participate. I'm going to require a very specific answer here, folks. I am giving it to Bill Simone because he has, or at least pretty close to the correct title, Unconditional Surrender Case Blue. I wasn't going to take just Case Blue because that's a completely different game. It's actually a pretty neat little game, actually, this Unconditional Surrender Case Blue. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's Unconditional Surrender, but just Case Blue. It's kind of cool.
How much?
That is worth 300 points to Bill Simone. So Bill's now on the board. What's that?
Bill Simone is at 400.
400. All right. Dan, give me another question.
Take Bill Simone out because yeah, well, you know what? The Great War for 500.
This designer depicted the 1916 duel between Admirals Jellicoe and Scheer in his 1991 game, Jutland. This is a ludicrously hard question. I would not get this.
Well, that's an Avalon Hill game, right?
It's 1991. Avalon Hill was sold to Hasbro in 1998. All right. It's not a Jack Green game, I'll tell you that. Good guess. Good. Jack Green is a good guess, but it's not Jack Green. I like Bill's answer. It's worth 0 points, but who is some jabroni? All right, we're giving 3 more seconds, folks. Get it in right now if you can, if you're inclined to. The answer is Ben Knight. The game is called just Jutland. This was released in Command Magazine.
And Ben Knight, what else did he do? Did he do
That is a great question for our next trivia night. I feel like we maybe need to, one of the things we'll work on if we do this again, and I think we will do this again, is maybe some way for people to submit the answers so that it's like evenly timed and we don't have a different like chat stack to deal with. All right, Dan, give me another question.
Hey, you know what? Aggressive negotiations for 3.
This Avalon Hill classic features a player faction that can steal a win by accurately predicting the turn that another faction meets their victory condition. This is another.
I know it.
This is very easy if you've played this game. That's going to Meandering Mike for 300 points. The answer is, in fact, Avalon Hill's Dune, recently re-released by Gale Force 9. And this is like the first time ever that I've gotten the name of that publisher correct.
I can't play those games, backstabbing people like.
I get that, but this is a marvelous game. If you're into this kind of thing, it's a great convention game too. But the problem with it is, if it has a problem, it's that it could be over in a half an hour, or it might run for 7 or 9 hours. That's a bit of an issue. All right, Dan, give me another question.
Okay, man. Off topic. 200.
Off-topic topics for 200. This West German krautrock band featuring Klaus Schulze released their self-titled debut album in 1971.
Come on, you crazy man.
You might know. You probably know the answer to this.
Crazy man. Come on, if there was questions like this, I'd kick everybody's hiney.
Kraftwerk's a pretty good guess, but it is incorrect. Scorpion. Scorpion is not German. I think they're Austrian, something like that.
Can I give a hint?
I'll tell you what, Dan, let's give it 5 more seconds. Ooh. Wait, somebody's very warm here, though. All right, Dan, spill it.
It's a fruit.
It is? You're really close, though. You're on this exact same train of thought, undoubtedly, as Agray Day. Before Klaus Schulze went to Tangerine Dream, he was in Asherah Temple.
I did not know that.
There you go. The late Klaus Schulze, unfortunately. So, all right, Dan, give me another question.
Look, let's go last easy one with Make Me Blue at 200.
This World War I dogfighting game saw a French edition published in 1993 by Oriflamme. Meandering Mike's got it. It is, in fact, Blue Max by Game Designers Workshop.
For 200 beans?
For 200 points. That is correct. Blue Max, Meandering Mike for 200. All right, Dan, give us another question.
Okay, man. Aggressive negotiations for 500.
This German theologian, represented in Here I Stand, defended Martin Luther in his work, Didimi Fauntini versus Tomamum Placentinum pro em Lutero Oratio.
Man, you're crazy.
I told you some of these questions were ridiculously difficult, but he is in Here I Stand. And you know it's not Martin Luther.
Jesus.
We're going to give this about 10 seconds. This was a cool one. I told you these were hard. Erasmus is kind of a good guess too, but it's not correct. It's also not John Calvin, who was not German. So there's that. All right, the correct answer is Philip Melanchthon, who is in Here I Stand. So, note to self for future, maybe make the high ones a little easier than that. All right, Dan, give me another question.
Okay, aggressive negotiations for 400.
This Soviet Minister of Transportation is represented in Mark Herman's game Churchill by a 2-point card. We got to back up. But we'll get it in a second. Anybody, let's answer this question first, and we'll fix the last one in a second. This Soviet Minister of Transportation is represented in, it's not Malenkov, in Mark Herman's game Churchill by a 2-point card. It's not Khrushchev either. I don't think Khrushchev is in the game. Comrade Jabroni. It is not Comrade Jabroni. The correct answer is Lazar Kaganovich. All right, so nobody got that one. However, William Aarons got the last one, which was the 500-point aggressive negotiations answer. So William Aarons gets another 500 points.
Holy cow!
It's a lot of points. I don't get to roll out my Latin pronunciation very often, so it's like, oh, cool, ecclesiastical Latin. All right, Dan, give me another one.
Off-topic topics for 4.
Off-topic topics for 400. This physicist, born in 1907, predicted the existence of mesons in 1935 and was the first physicist from his country to receive the Nobel Prize. I'm not going to be a stickler about the answers in the formal question. I might scold you, but I'm not. I will take the answer. It is not Niels Bohr, who strangely enough looks just like Kenneth Branagh. I recently learned. It's not Paul Dirac. And it's definitely not Einstein. Einstein published like 17 papers 2 years before 1907. Mr. Mason. It's not Edwin Hubble either. Nor is it Paul Dirac. Winterson. How about that? Good job, Winterson. It is, in fact, Hideki Yukawa. Peter Higgs, I'm pretty sure Peter Higgs was born after 1907, since he just passed away the last couple of years. All right, so that's 400 points to Winterson. All right, I think I'm just going to go with the mouse to control this. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. I've picked this question for you. Dunnigan's Diversions for 500. This 1973 jet combat game first appeared in the infamous SPI white box. The despicable white box. Meandering Mike is kind of kicking some serious ass here tonight. That's possibly because he and I are apparently separated at birth. But we are giving 500 points from Dunnigan's Diversions for Foxbat and Phantom, which is a 1973 release.
All right, man.
All right. And that is the last question. Well, that was the last question, so it's okay that I picked it. All right. So this could be it. Or he's like lightning fast searching for stuff on BGG. But I did try to create questions that you couldn't just look up on BGG, right? That you'd have to like paw through a list at least to slow things down. All right, so I think this was cool. I think we have 20 minutes left to go. So Dan, who's in the lead?
Well,
read us off all of the scores. Read us all the scores.
I can make it an ace too.
You can, preferably in order from low to high, but do what you got to do.
Okay, so Ed Holtzman, 400. Joe P, 100.
Joe P's got to have more than, maybe not.
A great day, 800. Vince Reed, 300. Aw, Stigler, 100. P. Albion, 100. William Blackford, I think it is.
William Aarons?
No.
William Blackford?
I can't even read my own writing. I was all nervous.
How many points does he have?
500.
Okay.
William Aarons, 900. Bill Simone, a paisan, 400. Nice try, Bill. Joe Perez, 300. And
that's 400 for Joe.
Why?
Because you already read him off with 100. I thought he had more than 100.
Oh, is that the same guy?
Yes. Joe Perez, yes.
And then he's got 400.
That. Congratulations.
400.
Okay.
And Meandering Mike, in for the kill, the bombing, the Dresden of the game, the Hamburg of the game with 1,400.
All right, so Meandering Mike is our winner. So congratulations to Meandering Mike. I will try and roll out a Sean Connery impression for next time, possibly. Maybe I'll deploy that. And I do think we got to come up with some way to get the answers in. So maybe I'll investigate a different application.
You shouldn't do all the questions. That Braino?
Something like that. Well, maybe I'll let you submit some of the questions for next time. Just send me the questions. I'll keep them in a file and use them next time. So, oh my goodness, 5,000 games? Holy cow. I can't keep track of my 500 games.
5,000 games, eh, Mike?
So I've already come up with a category for next time, by the way, if we decide to follow the Jeopardy format, which maybe we will. I don't know. But this was actually pretty cool. Like I said, we've been talking about doing it for a while. I could see some areas where we could improve. A limb of a great tree says, try Kahoot. So we might actually...
How many people are still watching? I'm just curious for the stats.
We're at 80 right now.
Nice.
So don't forget to thumbs up the video, folks. This is, I'm going to totally investigate this. I am bookmarking this site right now. I might use that. I'm not paying them for that, but apparently you can at least sign up for free. So thank you for that pointer. That might be super duper helpful. And if we have people, I don't necessarily want to ask people to download an app for fear that no one will do so, or that our entire audience consists of ancient, doddering old men who won't be able to figure it out in time.
My God, I'm 60 years old, man.
As, Captain Nolan, I'm sure you knew all the answers as well, especially Melanchthon. So that's a very difficult question. Unless you played like Here I Stand like the week before. And I've played Here I Stand a couple of times, and I wouldn't have remembered that. Good Lord, this is a lot. If I counted my RPGs, my number would go up. But like, how do you count those, right? Do you do anything, Dan, to keep track of what games you have?
Well, I used to like Mike do the BGG thing, but I dropped off, man. I got about 1,000 games.
That's a lot. That's more than I got. Like I said, I've got.
So when I hear Meandering Mike, he's got like 5,000 games.
Over 6,000 from what I'm seeing. I've got, according to my list, shit, it's not that. Hold on a second. I've got 582 war games on the war game tab and another 25 games on the non-war games tab. And RPGs, I've been meaning to get back to cataloging everything, but I kind of have to start cataloging somewhere, and it's a fucking mess. So I have not actually done that for any RPG except Traveler, which I do track. So,
well, you know what? You got meatier games than I have. You know what I mean?
I have a lot of very meaty games. That is fair.
The thing is that my library would not be this rich if it weren't for the angel that is Carl Parazzi.
Oh yeah, I know. Carl gave you a truckload of like a travel trailer full of games. So I could put five one map games, assuming no or at least minimal off map footprint. I can fit 5 standard sized war game maps, separate games, on my game table at a time. I have not done that, but I could. Currently, there are 2 games on the table. U.S. Civil War, which I haven't touched since before BGG, and OCS Crimea, which I also haven't touched since before BGG. So this is exactly right. I do not track expansions, so at some point I'll go through the at least the core books. And I mean, you got to make a decision about what you're keeping track of and not. But I also don't want to end up buying shit twice. That's why I started tracking the Traveler stuff, because I went up to the War Zone, said, I don't really see any war games here that I'm interested in a condition that I want to pay for a price I want to pay. So I'll grab these. Oh, here's some Traveler stuff. Buy these 3 books. I got them home. I had 2 of them already. So the local fellas in Columbus got some free Traveler books. But other than that, I am envious of folks that have like less than 100 games.
Oh, Ardy, let's plug in that Kickstarter by.
Oh yeah, I got to pull that up. So we just got a message from Ed over at whoever he's working for now, and there's a nuclear war, nuclear devastation Kickstarter that's going on. So let me pull this up. Actually, I don't even have to do this. There we go. All right, I'll put the link in the chat too, so folks can click on it. This is the classic Flying Buffalo nuclear destruction card game. This is a fantastic game. It's a fun, light party card game, right?
Kill as many people as you can.
It is entirely possible to play this under the influence of alcohol or whatever mushrooms you happen to have rotting in the vegetable crisper at this time. So
the thing is that they have like 3 or 4 different boxed games that they show on the Kickstarter, and it's not. Is it the same game or what?
Nuclear War was the original, and then there's Nuclear Escalation, Nuclear Proliferation, Nuclear War, and then there were later editions, and then there's Nuclear Destruction, which is kind of like a reimagining, I think. This looks like it's a fairly elaborate new edition, let me put it that way. So, and it's a fun game. I've actually played it under the influence of alcoholic beverages,
you gotta
FYI.
be nuts to play that game, because your goal is to eliminate everybody.
Yeah, I will be honest. If I was going to dump large quantities of stuff, I would 100% take him to Noble Knight. So Stigler's got over 100 and has too many to play in his lifetime. I don't know. I feel like if I had 100 games, that wouldn't be much of a problem. With 500 games, I'm starting to feel the pain a little bit. But I'm happy to have a series and say, hey, I play the series. I haven't played every OCS game, for example. There's 4 or 5 of them I haven't played. So I would say that a quad game counts as one game rather than multiple games, because if you say the individual games in the quad count as separate games, well, maybe the individual scenarios in a game count as separate games, right? I mean, where do you draw the line? It seems like a kind of semantic place to draw the line, to be honest about it.
Well, hold on a second. If those quad games are independent of each other, then they're like folio games.
Well, I did that in several cases. Some of the Modern Battles games came out as little folios. Some of the West Wall quad games came out separately. There's several quads they didn't do that with, but there's several that they did. And I think Napoleon's Last Battles, they released the games individually as well. So, which is the one where I would never want them individually. I would always want the quad because you got the whole campaign in there too.
You know, the thing is with these nuclear die everybody game, people want them, man. It's,
oh yeah. Every time GMT, even if it's like a series, so great example is Battles of the American Revolution, right? The Mark Miklas series. I wasn't into that series. I had like almost no interest whatsoever in American Revolutionary War games. GMT put the tri-pack up. I'm like, well, shit, that's a great bargain, right? I've heard good things about this system. I'm not terribly interested in the topic. But yeah, why not? I'll push the button. It was like $60 for 3 games with mounted maps and all the fancy shit. I mean, you can't beat that. So, and now I'm glad I did because I find myself becoming somewhat more interested in American Revolution, right? Which is, of course.
And it's like having, going back to Stigler's thing, 100 games, and he's got enough for his lifetime. Yes, I understand. But having all those games, like more than 500 games, even though you haven't played them, Matt, first of all, our opinions change, our tastes change, and it's always good for reference, I find. Did I make any sense or what?
No, you make total sense. I just wanted to check that. That happened like in the last couple hours, by the way. So thanks everyone for tuning in week after week and subscribing and all that stuff.
8,000 subscribers.
That is, in fact, I have hit 8,000 subscribers today. So I think I said I wasn't going to do a giveaway, but I'll probably do a giveaway next week on the Monday show. You know what? So,
how long have you been doing this to get 8,000 subscribers?
Honestly, it's hard to even tell because there's like if I go to this page here. The issue is I've done hundreds and hundreds. I've done probably 400 or 500 live streams, right? And when you look at your count of videos, it doesn't reflect that. I released my first video in 2009, so I have been doing this kind of a long time.
Yeah, so you know what?
Shit, that's 15 years for YouTube. Shit, that's 15 years for the YouTube channel. So, exactly right.
I have 2,600 for the last 3 years of my 7 years that I've been on. You know, capiche.
I get it. I really get it. How many games does a regular warp? I mean, I would say if you play weekly and you rotate games, you might easily get 4 games, 2 to 4 games in a month if you're playing at that pace. Now, that's not how I play. I tend to play the same game that takes 10 months to play or whatever, however long it takes. But so that's not my experience, but I find that number to be totally believable, right? 60 pounds. I would guess that my ASL stuff weighs more than that. I have been absolutely, well, over the last couple of years anyway, I've been very choosy about buying ASL stuff, meaning I haven't bought anything. I even passed on St. Mary Glace and a bunch of other stuff. I have probably 1,000, and I have absolutely 0 third-party stuff. I have over 1,000 scenarios. It's just absolutely crazy. Hell? So I will completely roll with this, by the way. The new Harn books, by the way, if anybody hasn't seen it and is interested in Harn, check out the video I released earlier today, which is a preview of the Canday Kickstarter volume, which is going to be just as gorgeous as the rest of them, I'm sure.
Harn is Columbia, eh?
That is Columbia Games, yes. They're very fine folks at Columbia Games. They are great folks, and I am happy to give them a little bit of extra coverage.
Hey,
and also, they sent me the PDFs for free, so that thank you for that.
Calm down, Gleeshon, for God's sake.
We could get Grant. I have actually interviewed Tom. It's been 20 years, but I interviewed him for a print magazine sometime in the I want to say mid 90s, maybe something like that. Mid to late 90s, something like that. Over the Civil War card game, the Dixie. which they released as part of their collectible card game explosion that happened.
Now, what about getting Grant?
Grant, I'm sure we could get Grant. So Grant's also a great guy. Tom's a great guy. Or James, why do I keep wanting to call him? Because I'm thinking of Tom, obviously. I always think of Tom. I always think Tom when I think of James. I'm actually thinking of James. So this is a great question. They are not located in Vancouver. They are just south of the border in Blaine, Washington. Literally, you could walk right out of town and you're in Canada. If you just head north, as soon as you leave Blaine, Washington, you're in Canada. They are Canadians, however, and they relocated to Washington for tax reasons. One time, my wife ordered some craft stuff, and it came from Blaine, Washington. And I'm sorry, because I track everything because I'm an obsessive dork. So I'm like, what the hell did they send me? I didn't ask for anything. And it showed up, and it was like some construction paper or some shit. So I just got this today, Robert O. So they are now starting to ship U.S. stuff. I think they may have been shipping for at least a week, but I was a pretty late adopter. I was a late pledger on that.
Hey, Ardy, what's the proper pronunciation of that?
What?
Ilu?
Eilau? It's probably not Eilau. It's Preußisch Eilau. Well, Preußisch I can do. Eilau.
So that's not French, eh?
No. It was in Prussia.
Oh. Wow. I always pronounced it Ilo.
Well, that's a very French way to pronounce it. Hold on a second. I'll find out. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's bullshit. So what is happening to Dan again now? I don't know what's going on. So this happened a couple of times, actually. I want to say this happened in 1805 as well. And I think it might have happened in 1798 as well. Napoleon was known for slapping on a subaltern's jacket and going out and doing some of the reconnoitering himself. So,
you know what would be a great topic for the show? Name pronunciations of certain battles.
I feel completely unconfident in. I mean, that is a good idea. I don't know that we could do a show on it, but I could see doing a video on it. Tomislav Chipchich, the designer of Brotherhood and Unity, did a video on how to pronounce all the Balkan names that are in the game, which I thought was enormously helpful. I forgot them all, but I thought it was pretty cool that he did that because I have no idea Eastern European stuff. I just have no idea. You give me Russian and I might be able to mangle it. I could probably make some vague random noises come out of my mouth. You give me Czech or something like that, I have no idea whatsoever.
You know, I bet you watched the video of how to pronounce the right Scotch houses.
Oh no, I totally did. Okay, so so there is actually a series of, I think it's Vanity Fair or something like that, YouTube's channel, Vanity Fair's YouTube channel or something like that. Actually got Brian Cox, the actor Brian Cox, not the physicist Brian Cox, to pronounce a bunch of names of Scotch. And he got a lot of them wrong because some of them are regional. The guy I go by, his name is Ralphie, and it's Ralfy, and he has the best whiskey. He is a guy that lives on the Isle of Man, but he is Scottish, and I assume that Ralphie knows what he's talking about. So
yes,
that's what I go by, is Ralphie's pronunciations. William Byrd, I don't know, but I have a feeling it'll be sometime in the next few days. That's plausible, just based on the usual cadence that they have. But they had Weekend at the Warehouse. That might have thrown the schedule off too.
You know, Ardy, another good channel, and the guy's a wargamer, is Bart Bruncheon, the chief.
Oh yeah,
Scotch Test Dummies.
Yes, I know.
His partner, Scott, was grabbed by one of the houses in Scotland. Man, he's now the sommelier, man.
Really? Well, that's awesome. That's kind of a sweet gig. I don't think they'd pay me enough, to be honest. But then again, you know, getting dragged over to Scotland, just just on like a press junket would be pretty sweet. So
well, the thing is, he was retired. He was SWAT.
oh, okay.
He was retired, so he took that gig. Of course, you're gonna take that gig.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance that it'll be out. I'm a little surprised they didn't launch it today, right after the Armchair Dragoons did their Tuesday update, because they've done that several times, where Brant pushes his upload button and then GMT releases their monthly update, and Brant's stomping back and forth, cussing, ranting his heart, waving his arms around like a madman. It's hilarious. So, but yeah, I think just based on that sort of third week of the month type of cadence that they typically hit, I think it will be pretty soon. So, oh, that's it. That's actually nice too. I can actually, Japanese is, so we got 5 minutes. So there's translation, which is when you take a word in one language and find a word that means the same thing in another language. So if I say, what's a good example? Trains, what's a better example? Library. Okay, if I want to translate library into French, I think is it bibliothèque?
Yeah.
Okay, so the translation of English library into French is bibliothèque. And then you have transliteration, which is taking a word in one language and presenting it in the script of another language. So that's what we have to do with, say, Japanese words.
So you're talking phonetically, right?
But that's the thing, is if it's English or French, the phonetics are fucked up. So English versus French can be very difficult, but in most cases, French words that came into English are just spelled like the French words, if they were in the like it happened in the last 200 or 300 years. If they came in earlier, then they may have gotten caught in one of the English spelling reforms.
So when you're talking Japanese, are you talking about Romanji?
Yeah, kind of. So Japanese uses 4 different scripts. There's Romanji, which is the Latin script used to write Japanese. Okay, so that is a transliteration of Japanese into the Roman script. And it is fairly phonetic, but there's a lot of like pronunciation traps. I've taken exactly enough Japanese to learn a little bit of the pronunciation, and that's it. And say konnichiwa. And that's literally all the Japanese I know. But Japanese written in the Latin alphabet is reasonably phonetic, but there's some tricky bits that you can get stuck on. Like there's a glottal stop or something in there that is not an unknown sound in English, but it's not common, and we don't recognize the glottal stop as an actual sound, which it is. And HUN644 New has it exactly right. So there's the 2 kana scripts, katakana and hiragana, and then there's which are native Japanese, and then there's kanji, which is a smaller subset of Chinese characters that were borrowed and then adapted by the Japanese. And it's basically the same idea as Chinese, where there's like a separate character for every word. So there's like 150,000 of them you need to know.
And you know that word borrowed there, you're using it very loosely.
None of this is recent. None of that is recent history, right? I mean, nobody, Chinese cultural influence was extremely strong everywhere east of India, right? I mean, those Southeast Asian cultures, Japanese, Korean, all that's even up into Siberia, those were all monumentally, and the Mongolians, monumentally influenced by Japanese. So
you mean Chinese?
Chinese. That's correct. I actually knew this at one point, but I don't remember. I can tell you that it superficially resembles some World War II Japanese ship names, but I think it's different, so I wouldn't. There you go. Stigler points this out. It was Maru was part of the names of the transport ships.
Okay, so Kobayashi was the name of the ship.
The Kobayashi Maru is the name of the training ship in Star Trek II. Okay, so that's what the actual reference is to, as far as anybody that I've seen reference it. But I can usually handle Japanese. Chinese. So Chinese it's not that Chinese is necessarily hard to pronounce, but it's hard to pronounce.
Ardy, when you say Chinese, I mean, there's Cantonese and there's Mandarin.
So there's 5 major totally separate languages that are all called Chinese here in the United States. And a bunch of minor ones. Now, the interesting thing about Chinese is even though those languages are not mutually intelligible when spoken, they are all written using the Chinese characters. So in writing, those people speaking Wu or Mandarin or whatever can understand each other.
In all 5 dialects.
Yeah, all 5 of the major ones. There's a bunch of minor ones, too. So this is exactly right. Oh, yeah, okay. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. That's the rest of my Japanese right there. That band that song destroyed Styx. A gimmick song. They were not taken seriously by anybody after that song. I hate that song.
Yeah, well, and domo arigato means thank you very much, but it's not finishing the sentence. Domo arigato gozaimasu. Thank you very much. I love you. I'm going to sleep with you.
Okay. I mean, the only reason I know the Maru thing, is because of Wargames, right? So, because these were like the transport ships. These were not like the carriers or the battleships or the cruisers, right? So.
It reminds me, because Maru is very close to the word marzu. And it's casu marzu, which is that cheese from Sardinia, which has
the maggots larva, in it, yeah. No, thank you.
Which has larva, fly larva in it, and
you
eat it while it's alive.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm cool with not trying the Sardinian maggot cheese. I don't consider, for the record, I do not. Sam, do you think Styx is a progressive rock act?
Well, look, lightly so, yes.
Okay, they're
lightly so, but
like a little bit, tiny bit of overlap there.
Perfidious Albion, you're putting too much, for lack of a better word, respect, too much influence on Styx for it to be, they're progressive dreams. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I've got a copy of that somewhere. But I have the later. Back in the day, I had the original edition of the FASA Star Trek RPG. And while I wouldn't call it's not, if you were redesigning Star Trek, a Star Trek RPG, what you would design nowadays, it looks nothing like the FASA Star Trek. But there's some really interesting ideas in it too. The way it handled starship combat and stuff was actually super duper interesting.
Like, why is that so revered? That FASA Star Trek.
Here's why. Because the system is like a basic pick a template type of character creation, and then there were skills, and the template and your species will determine what your skills are. But the cool thing about the game is, for one thing, there was a separate Starship Combat board game you could do if you wanted. But the way the Starship Combat worked is you'd actually like hand the responsibilities out to the players. So you'd say, okay, so so-and-so's the communications officer, so-and-so's the captain, so-and-so's the weapons officer. And then each of those people would get like this display that you would move counters around, and engineering could move counters around to give you more power. And then the other players could move power up on their display. So like everybody had something to do. It wasn't just, okay, you're in a Starship Combat, you're in a dogfight. The pilot and the gunner, if they're not the same person, are the only people who have anything to do. It circumvents that. It's actually really brilliant. And some of the source material was actually really good too. The late great John M. Ford wrote a decent amount of the source material for the FASA supplements. The mechanics, like the core mechanics of the game, is like, it was okay. But that Starship Combat thing was absolutely golden. I don't know. I mean, I've always seen Styx as an arena rock band, and like Journey or REO Speedwagon. I think they all had, like, or even Blue Oyster Cult for that matter. I think a lot of them had strong prog influences, like they were influenced by progressive rock, but they were not necessarily themselves progressive rock.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Dennis DeYoung, Styx, great band. Okay.
And yet, Dennis DeYoung's.
Whatever.
I would encourage you. You probably have already listened to Dennis DeYoung's solo material, Dan.
Well, the thing is that
it's not great.
The sum of its parts, blah blah blah. What am I trying to say? Styx together as a band has a certain energy that the other members don't have. But
yeah, same with Journey.
But Tommy Shaw kept going. He's still with Styx
and
Gowan and all that.
Tommy Shaw's still active. He's still doing stuff. Just not that long ago.
Did you see him on the Daryl Hall something?
No, but what I did see is he actually did a performance with a Cleveland area youth orchestra that you could find some of that stuff on YouTube. It's absolutely dynamite. Absolutely dynamite. It's like high school. It's Tommy Shaw and but like 50 high school kids.
I think
it's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. Suka Joe's here. Joe, thanks for stopping by. And Rush. Rush is a real progressive band, though.
But so I mean, look, Rush is Rush.
Rush is Rush, and Canadian too. So
yeah, but,
Dan's very happy about that.
God's sake,
again,
man. Have you ever? I mean, that band is so tight technically, and it's effortless in their musicianship. That's what's awesome.
Oh yeah, the great Neil Peart is probably the greatest drum solo I've ever seen live. Actually, that's not probably. It's not fucking close. But unfortunately, it is the late Neil Peart, and not still the greatest drummer of all time.
I mean, Neil Peart, for God's sakes, there's nothing wrong that can be said about it, no matter what.
No, well, I mean, again, Canadians. So what can I say?
Well, come on, relax.
They're second only to Anne Murray in their Canadian stardom.
Hey, don't knock Anne Murray, okay?
WMMS in Cleveland was one of the bands that helped to break Rush, actually. They were very independent at the time, back in the day when radio stations could actually be independently owned and they weren't all owned by the same two companies. WMMS in Cleveland was one of the first radio stations in the country to start playing Yes. So Cleveland they were like literally, they were coming down here from Canada playing fucking proms and stuff. Okay. Can you imagine that? Yeah. Yes. Played at my, Rush played at my prom. I mean, how friggin' awesome is that? Right?
Hey man, that's what it is. A gig's a gig, eh?
Early Genesis before, I don't know. I consider Moody Blues kind of like proto-prog, but I'm not going to argue with anybody that puts them in the category. You know, depends on the album too.
Moody Blues reminds me of the British Canterbury years. Camel,
Canterbury scene guys. Yep. Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair, and I think a lot of those acts were probably very heavily influenced by the Beatles too, right? I mean, the Beatles did some stuff that certainly leads into prog stuff, like Sgt. Pepper's, specifically is what I'm thinking of. What?
Tomorrow Never Knows.
Well, individual songs too, sure, but one of the hallmarks of prog rock is the big album-length composition, right?
Well,
the thing that, like Sgt. Pepper's, like the album is just designed to kind of holistically work, even though the songs are individual songs. Although later on, you'd see like Jethro Tull, who did at least two, and maybe more albums that had like there's one song on the album is one song. Okay, it's thick as a brick. It's a 40-minute song, and that's what you got. So. Most of which he plays in. I did have the off-topic trivia. Thanks to Brant for some of the ideas for that trivia, by the way. So Emerson, the late Emerson, the late Palmer, I think. Is Carl Palmer passed away?
No.
No? Okay. Greg Lake?
Yeah.
Okay. Keith Emerson has. I know that. So.
They're my God, are they grandiose? They're pumping. They're pumped, man.
Very theatrical and orchestral and classical. Then you've got Keith Emerson, who's one of the greatest keyboard players in the history of rock music.
Without question.
I mean, he's not my number one, but he's certainly top five.
Well, it's very Russian. Their style is very Russian.
Ooh, that's an interesting point. Remember that they literally did a whole album of Mussorgsky. So yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah. Yeah, I would put, just for my tastes, I would put Rick Wakeman or, for that matter, even Raymond Zarek above Keith Emerson in terms of rock keyboardists that I like. But Emerson's certainly up there.
Are you crazy?
What do you mean?
They're not even in the same world.
Who?
Raymond Zarek and who the hell else did you say?
Rick Wakeman.
Okay, maybe Rick Wakeman, okay.
Raymond Zarek was a brilliant keyboardist. He does not get a lot of credit. There were occasions when they were performing a live show and Jim Morrison was unconscious for reasons that I don't need to explain. And Ray had to not only play the keyboards, but he also was the bassist on the keyboards. And then Jim's sleeping it off in the drunk tank. Ray's got to be the singer too.
No,
so
but you're talking about professionalism in actual action, man.
absolutely.
Okay. Yes.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we are well over time. So let us know if you want to see this trivia business some more. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel and all that. I think we will probably try and do it again. And I'm totally going to take a look at this other option that was pointed out. So thanks for that very much. We're talking. We actually had a little conversation. Next time we might do another dry run next time. But if we keep doing this, eventually there will be prizes. So. And the Moog synthesizer. All right, folks, it's been swell. I would call this a successful experiment. We learned a lot. Everybody have a great night. We will see you next week at the usual time.
Big move. Big win. The moose is loose. Big move. Big win. The moose is loose.